Hello, I'm Janice and I hope you're all doing well. Today's video is going to be all about Taiwanese eats. Now, I've previously done a video on a Taiwan food tour in Sydney with a friend of mine, Elisa, who runs a channel called Feed Maymay, so definitely check out that video after you watch this one. Now, I didn't want to replicate what we've already done in that video, but a couple Taiwanese shops opened in Sydney relatively recently and I've been to both of them and I really liked it, so I really wanted to do a video to feature their food and their drinks, so I hope you enjoy this as well. But without further ado, let's head to our first location in this video. We are starting off this Taiwanese eats video here in Eastwood at a restaurant called Hungry Paulie. So Hungry Paulie has actually been in Eastwood for a while now. Previously it was a market store at a place that's kind of just across the road, but they've recently now opened a restaurant around 5 to 6 months ago. I've actually been here 3 or 4 times already. I've gotten takeaway from this place quite a bit. Now I had a chat with the owner of this restaurant, Arthur, not too long ago, and he told me sort of the story behind this restaurant, the reason why he decided to open it, and his passion for good Taiwanese food, where some of his inspiration has come from his grandmother, Mother Chu, and also his uncle Paul. His uncle was like a father figure to him and taught him everything he knew about Taiwanese cuisine, and in part was what inspired the name of his restaurant, Hungry Paulie. The design of Hungry Paulie has been carefully thought out, from the music playing in the background, to the furniture, to the items on the shelves, to the cutlery itself, and even the table numbers. So much so that once you step in, it feels like you've transported yourself to Taiwan. So we've ordered a whole bunch of different eats. You know, I ordered a lot of food that sort of remind me of Taiwan and things that I had on my trip way back in 2016, and I was told that almost everything is made in store, from the soybean milk, which they grind themselves at 4 a.m. in the morning, to the pepper buns, to the pork belly, which they hand slice and hand chop every single thing. They make their own You-tiaos in store as well. Honestly, this smells delicious, and I've done enough talking for now, so we are gonna dig in and try everything that's in front of us right now. So the first thing that I do want to give a go is the pork floss sticky rice roll, and we always have it with soybean milk. All right, first bite of the pork floss salty veggies rice roll. You know, you've got the salty vegetables that are pickled, and you've got the crunch of the You-tiao that's inside this rice roll. You've got a bit of the pork floss that's a little bit salty as well, but it's all wrapped up really nicely in this warm, chewy, glutinous rice. And they told me that they sort of mix the glutinous rice with normal rice just so that they can bind better together. And of course, I got to follow it up with some soybean milk. So I got a hot one. I add a little bit of sugar in it as well, not too much because I don't like it too sweet. I might have mentioned this earlier, but they come in at 4 a.m. every morning just to grind the soybean into soybean milk, which is incredible. It's very creamy. It's quite smooth as well. I'm glad I added a little bit of sugar in it because I quite enjoy that slight hint of sweetness. This and the rice roll is like the perfect combination. It's like a marriage made in heaven. Okay, the next thing that I do want to try is the You-tiao before it gets too cold. Even though I let this dough sit for a little while, it's still very, very crunchy. So the pancake has egg in it and also has some like spring onions. And when you wrap it around that crunchy You-tiao, it's a combination of really fluffy, a little bit eggy, and that crunch from the You-tiao as well. Make sure you eat it ASAP. I let it sit for a bit so it isn't as crunchy as it should be, but when I've had it hot, it's amazing. These go so well with congee. But I've got my hot soybean milk over there, so it's gonna be good as well. Next up, we have the steamed rice with braised hand-cut pork belly. This smells amazing, and it was really hard to not eat it or like sneak a bite when I was trying to take shots of it. There's a bit of pickled vegetables, there's a lot of pork, there's some spring onions on top as well, and there's also I think a salted egg. The pork is so flavorful. It's very tender as well. It's a very soy-based flavor and it soaks into the rice. It's just the perfect topping for rice because you can eat so many bowls of rice with just this. The spring onions definitely add to the dish. I'm a fan of spring onions. I'm a bit biased that way. They hand cut every single piece of pork belly. It's the perfect addition to rice. It's kind of dangerous for me because I can eat so many bowls with just this topping, but I really do want to give their egg a go as well because it looks a little bit like a tea eggs. Yeah, this egg reminds me a little bit of tea eggs. It's a bit salty and it's got that hint of soy flavor. Next up, we have something that I'm extremely excited to try. It's a pepper bun. I haven't had it since my trip in Taiwan years ago. We waited up to 20 minutes. These are like little buns with meat inside. It's
Gosh, you make it sound so unimpressive.
And inside they have really succulent, delicious pork with a lot of spring onions. It has like black and white pepper as well. And on the outside, it's got so many sesame seeds. There's a bit of, actually there's quite a bit of spring onions on the bottom as well. The pork is extremely juicy and you can definitely taste the pepper there as well. But not so much that it's overbearing. The exterior to the bun itself, wow. It's so crispy. It's crispy on the outside, but inside it's kind of quite pillowy soft. These are quite a bit bigger and thicker than the ones I had in Taiwan, but I really like it. And honestly, it just brings back the memories that I had when I went to all the Taiwanese market stores and waited in line for a pepper bun, well, for 2 pepper buns. Next up, we have a fried vermicelli with bean sprouts and also pork belly as well. And I was told that they use a traditional brand of vermicelli from Taiwan in order to make this dish. This is a really good vermicelli. A bit oily, but it's not overly oily. It's quite chewy as well, and it's not stuck together. So it's like each individual strand of noodle itself. You then have also got the crunch of the bean sprouts. You've also got the flavor of the braised pork belly as well. These pieces of pork are very similar to the one that we had in the rice. It's fatty, it's quite indulgent, and it's just absolutely delicious. Next, we have the oyster egg pancake, which is also a very popular street food dish in Taiwan. This is steaming hot, so let's cut into it and give it a go. Everything here is just so fresh. The tiny oysters, they taste really, really good. I don't really have tiny oysters in many dishes unless when my mom makes soup and you get like tiny baby oysters in it as well. The top of this omelette, it's quite a viscous texture. It's sort of the starch that it's on top, and you've got a soy-based type of sauce on top as well, so it's quite savory. It's something that I really enjoyed getting when I was in Taiwan, and I typically get it when I go to the night markets. This is one of those dishes that it might not look the most beautiful, but it tastes amazing. So, don't judge it by its cover, give it a go, and yeah, you never know. Next up, we have the Taiwan savory rice pudding. This is something I've never had before. It also comes recommended to me. And initially I was like, is this a dessert? Because I saw the word pudding. And he said, no, it's not a dessert. It's called a pudding because it takes the shape of a pudding. I'm excited to try it because I don't really know what to expect. And that's always the best in everything. Just waiting to be surprised. Here's what it tastes like. It tastes like rice. No, it tastes like congee, but then you put it into a pudding. So this still tastes like rice. It's just not the consistency of rice. It's like the consistency of pudding. And then you've got that savory sauce around it. It's quite interesting. I've never had anything like this before. And in terms of the filling on top, I can taste a bit of the pork mince, some mushrooms, a bit of dried shrimp as well, and also some pickled or preserved vegetables. But overall, yeah, this is quite an interesting dish. I've never had it before, but I'll probably have it again. Alright, this was a lot of food, all of which was extremely delicious. I'll put in my description their order number and also the title so that if there's anything here that you really like, you can order it as well. Even though we've had so much food, this episode is not over. We are heading to our next destination for this video. So without further ado, let's go. Okay, we have just arrived at Xing Fu Tang, which does Taiwan's #1 brown sugar boba milk.
This store in Sydney Town Hall recently opened and they're determined to bring the most authentic brown sugar boba experience to Australia. Now they import all their key ingredients from Taiwan, the flour, the brown sugar, and they make their boba from scratch in store. They follow the exact same recipe used by Xing Fu Tang in Taiwan to make their signature brown sugar boba milk that's known and loved by bubble tea lovers. You can either have this hot or cold, and once you've ordered, they coat your cup with a scoop of brown sugar pearls from this brown sugar well. Then a scoop of ice, a good amount of fresh milk, before topping it off with some milk foam. Then they finish it off with some brown sugar on top and finally blow torching it so that there's a nice crisp.
And here we have our very own thing of brown sugar bubble milk. I don't know if you can see how beautiful it looks in terms of like the brown sugar and the milk, and it's sort of warm on the inside and cold on top because of the milk.
Now there are rules to drinking this. You have to stir it 18 times before you take your first
10,
sip.
11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. I've stirred it 18 times. It looks good enough to try right now, so I'm gonna try it right now. The first time I had a brown sugar boba milk was actually in the video collab with Alyssa. And what she told me was that the most important thing in a brown sugar boba milk is actually the brown sugar boba itself. These brown sugar boba, they're very chewy, they've got a really good texture, and it's quite sweet, but not overbearingly sweet. And it's so good when you pair it with milk. I don't know if it's because I haven't drank milk for so long. Don't worry, I've prepared for this episode. It's just the perfect combination of just really creamy and sweet. And they've also got a bit of brown sugar on top as well, and then they have that blowtorch to make it a little bit crispy as well.
The brown sugar pearls also goes from initially warm and quite gummy to being a bit harder and more chewy once it's been in the cold milk for a bit.
I wonder if they do it with like soy milk or oat milk. I'm gonna ask them because I want to be able to have this, and I know I can't have this too much, but wow. Okay, so in addition to the brown sugar boba experience, they also have a step 2, which is you grab one of their sticks and then you see the number and you open whatever that number corresponds to in their box. And then I think there are notes in there that you can read. Okay, so I got number 67, so I open the corresponding box that also says 67. I'm not really sure how to respond to that, but it says it's good luck, so thanks.
But as I said at the start, this place is their brown sugar boba milk. Definitely give these a go and let me know what you think. Alright, we are now headed to our third location for this video.
We are currently at Cho Dumpling King. Now this restaurant isn't new at all, but their beef noodles are so good. I can't make a video about Taiwanese food just without including this. It feels like there's something missing. We've got their classic beef noodle soup, and I added $1 to get their soup as well. And so we're gonna give each of them, you know, a taste. I already know it's gonna be delicious, but here we have the soup and the beef noodle soup. So the soup we have in front of us is meant to be a spicy sour soup, and it's actually quite a viscous soup. And I'm very, very excited to taste it because today it's quite cold, and anything hot, I welcome it. It's not too spicy, it's a bit sour. It's quite peppery as well, but it's loaded with a range of different vegetables. You've got mushrooms, coriander, you've got some carrots, you've got some, I think it's wood ear, so it's got like a lot of different textures. I think you've got tofu skin as well. It's not bad at all. But the main character of this segment is, of course, beef noodles, and it's just sitting there patiently waiting to be consumed. So I think I'm gonna try the soup first. It's definitely not as thick as the spicy sour soup, but it's got a lot of beef flavor just packed into it. Now let's give these noodles a go. These noodles are just as delicious as I remembered it the last time I came here. And man, their beef, I remember it to be so tender, and it looks to be very tender as well right now. It's extremely tender, it's not chewy at all, and there is so much flavor to this beef. It's kind of like a heightened flavor of that beef broth. I love it so much. If you're ever craving beef noodle soup, you won't be disappointed here. It was great the last time I came here. It's great right now. And I know a lot of my friends absolutely love this place as well. These beef noodles have also got some preserved vegetables in it as well. So you've got that like a sour, tangy taste to it, which I think works really well with the overall bowl of noodles. The soup's great, the noodles are delicious, and the beef is amazing. It's just winning at everything. Alright, and that is pretty much it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you're still watching, thank you so much for watching till the end. I post new videos every week, so check them out if you have time. I hope you have an amazing rest of the day, and I will see you in my next video. Bye! Okay, we have just arrived at Xing Fu Tang, which does Taiwan's #1 brown sugar milk tea. Okay, we have just arrived at Xing Fu Tang, which does... Okay, we have just arrived at Xing Fu Tang, which does Taiwan's #1 brown sugar milk. Okay, we have just arrived at Xing Fu Tang, which does